first pick.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of On the Clock. On the Clock is presented by our friends at Titan Bat Company. If you're looking for the highest quality handcrafted wood bats in the game, Titan Bats has you covered with premium maple, ash, and birch game bats in 10 different models and colors to fit your swing and style. As you're gearing up for the spring season, Titan Bats is the perfect option for your next wood bat. In addition to game bats ranging from youth baseball to softball to men's baseball, Titan Bats also offers award bats that make the perfect gift celebrate a teammate, coach, or baseball fan in your life. Check them out at titanbats.com and use the code JB15 for 15% off your first order. All right, it is draft board season again. We have the combined top 200 draft board. That's what we're going to get into today. Not a ton of college baseball news we're going to dive into. Just for all of you, we have the new top 25, so check that out on the Just Baseball website. Some shuffling as conference play has started up. SEC, ACC, all the conferences are going. So be sure to check that out. David Pierce, now the head coach at Rice. That's about all the baseball news we got. So we want to dive into the MLB Draft Board. Tyler just dropped the top 200. This is going out today. So we're recording on Monday night. Tyler, let's go through the top 10 really quick here. We have at number 10, Ethan Holiday, Stillwater, Oklahoma State commit. At number 9, Gavin Kilen to Tennessee. Number 8, Brendan Summerhill out of Arizona. Number 7, Eli Willits out of Fort Cobb Broxton. He's an Oklahoma commit. Number 6, we got Seth Hernandez out of Corona High School, Vanderbilt commit. Number 5, Gavin Fiend out of Great Oak High School, Texas commit. Number 4, Kason Cunningham out of Johnson High School, Texas commit. Number 3, Billy Carlyson, also out of Corona High School, Corona stacked, Tennessee commit. Number 2, Ava Arquette out of Oregon State. And a new number 1, Jamie Arnold out of Florida State. Let's talk about Jamie Arnold to start. He's the new number 1, wasn't the number 1 on the top 80 college draft board, but talk about what has ascended Jamie Arnold to the number 1 overall prospect for the 2025 MLB draft.
It's more of like what has not happened to him, essentially. Like, obviously, he was sick for that 2-week span. I think it was week 3 going to week 4 or something like that. Obviously missed the start and then came back for conference play. It's been kind of lit up a little bit, especially this past weekend against Miami. But it's still pretty dynamic of what it is. Like, he's been up to 98 already this year. This is a new PR for him. The slider is still pretty disgusting, and that changeup has flashed a little bit. Granted, still working on field, not really throwing it in the zone much, but it's been getting chases, getting whiffs. It's been doing a good job for what it is. Compared to what we've seen in like off-season video of him, it's not the same effect as what we saw there, but like it's still better than what it was last year. Yeah. And he's using it, I feel like, in a not a bitter, but like better way, trying to sequence it in with his arsenal. So I think he's done enough to be the first overall guy in this class as of right now. And in looking at the rest of the class, like obviously Jace LaViolette, you mentioned, not like his name's not even the top 10. It's just a circumstance of what's happened around him. What has he done to really establish himself? And he's still the same Jamie Arnold. Like, he's takes it up a little bit. There's more of a changeup. I feel like, given the weak nature of this class, like, there is a chance that the arm goes number 1 here. And Jamie Arnold has shown that he's still the best arm in this class.
Yeah, and we know the Nationals have taken arms in the past and are susceptible to doing that. Other guy I want to talk about in the top 10, because Eli Willits was our number 1 prep prospect on the top 80 board, but now Billy Carlyson has taken that, and he's the number 3 overall prospect. I know he's listed as a 2-way guy, shortstop, right-handed pitcher, but kind of talk about Billy and what's kind of ascended him to the top.
Yeah, so first off, you mentioned it properly, like Corona loaded. Like, even without Carlson and Hernandez, you've got Brady Ebel, who is Dino Ebel's son. He's also ranked pretty highly in this update. Ethan Bingaman's another Corona kid in this rankings. He's down to like 175. But like, just talking about talent in that lineup, man, it's ridiculous what they have. But with Carlson, like, It's not more. It's not the same thing as the college side where like people have fallen and there's just a circumstance there. Like Willits is still kind of that same guy. He's still at 6'1", 175. Hasn't added a ton of weight, but
Yeah.
there's still the tools there. Like it's a polished hit tool. Plays shortstop. That's why he's ranked at 7. But looking at what Carlson's been able to do, I think Carlson is the best shortstop prospect in this class. Just defensively, it's so fluid. It's so easy for him. He's got that strong arm, been up to 96, 97 on the fastball on the mound. And yeah, he's 2-way on the list. That's just how it is. Like Bryce Rayner had the same kind of deal where he was playing premier shortstop, but could also touch 96 on the mound last year. So I think with Carlson, it's kind of the same route with him. Like you're looking at a kid that's going to be drafted as a shortstop. There's no way I don't think he really sees the mound at all as a professional. But I think we undervalued the hit tool a little bit back when we did the original updates back in January. I think the hit tool is more polished than what I kind of interpreted it as.
Yeah.
Doesn't chase, good in zone contact. I think he just hasn't really shown that classic polished hit tool in game yet. And I think this year he's done a good job at that. The power is upticked. I don't know if he's going to be like a 55, 60 guy, like 55 hit, 60 power, but there's definitely feel for like a 55 hit, 55 power kind of bat here with defensive prowess at shortstop. And that's just really valuable. This is a kid that's going to get a lot of money come July. And that's really just been the thing for it. Like Eli Willis, again, same kind of guy, still very talented, but just hasn't, not to say taking that next step forward, but there hasn't been much of a difference maker with the weight. He didn't really add a ton of weight. And I felt like with his power, if he added weight and there was more of an uptick in power, he would still be number one here. And add further to that, like Casey Cunningham's probably the most polished hit tool in this class. Gavin Kilen has really turned it up to another level over the past couple of months, and now looks really, really good in SoCal. And there's people thinking that he could be the first bat off the board, and there's totally a case that can be made there. So hence why those guys jumped up ahead of Willits. But again, I think the top end of the prep side has some really good guys, and Carlson being the cream of the crop there with, like I said, a potential 55 hit, 55 power guy with 7 arm, probably put a 6 on the glove. It's just really hard to pass that kind of talent up.
Yeah, I love that. For you, kind of the top 10, who are you most excited about? Right, there's a lot of new prep guys in there. It seems like I think we thought it might be college heavy, but it's now seeing like Casey Cunningham, like you mentioned, Gavin Kilen, Seth Hernandez, Eli Willits. Is there a guy that you're kind of most excited about in this top 10?
If I had to say, maybe Hernandez. And granted, like we've talked about this before, like the high school track record with arms has not been great for the past few years. And I know some teams are pretty hesitant about that. But with Hernandez, you're looking at a kid that recently, like last week, he was up to 100.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time he's touched triple digits either. And looking at the frame, the athleticism, the delivery, like there's still some stuff to work out. This kid could legitimately be sitting at 100 at the next level. And he's got potentially the best changeup in the class, really good hammer curveball. He's got a cut slider now. It's really special what this kid could be. And again, could is very emphasized here because looking at what's been recently ongoing with the prep arms, like look at Dylan Lesko. This was the guy who was the most polished kid in that 22 class and had been for some time. Like he was outright probably the most dominant prep pitcher that perfect game or PBR anybody's had, in their database. And he's really not been the same since Tommy John. So obviously there's the issue there, but there's a lot of upside here. If everything really pans out and works perfectly, there's a non-zero chance he's a top 20 prospect in the game by 2-3 years from now. But obviously pitching super volatile. But I will say this is a biased pick because he's coming to NHSI in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
and we will be there. I get the first 2 days of NHSI and then head down to Athens, Georgia, because Arkansas goes to Georgia, and that's going to be a fun series.
that'll be awesome. Yeah, I think the guy I'm most excited about is Gavin Kilen out of Tennessee. we've kind of talked about it. Exceptional contact rates. There's some questions of like whether he could tap in some of the power, but man, he has been doing it this year. Like we saw the 3 home run or what was it, 4 home run weekend that he had at the Houston Astros Foundation Classic. Just the steps that he's taken since he's gotten to the University of Tennessee is just awesome to watch. Guy's an absolute gamer, and it's just fun to watch on the field. And I think that's a guy that like I'm really excited about. I have my question for you on Kilen, kind of before we move into some of the biggest risers is, what do you think about his opportunity to kind of stick at shortstop? Because I know he's playing second base now with Dean Curley there at Tennessee, but that's my only big concern with him.
Yeah, like I remember in high school, like Keelan didn't have the greatest arm, so it felt like he was kind of a lock at second base. And I feel like if he stayed at Louisville, shortstop's his.
Yeah.
And obviously now with Curly kind of manning position over there, the next chance you're going to see Keelan play shortstop is probably at the pro level. And I'm kind of split a little bit. Like there's some ranginess, there's some chops to really kind of dig into there, and the instincts are good. But again, that arm strength, I kind of want to see a bit more across the diamond. I will say, getting Tennessee this weekend, hopefully Keelan's back because I know he missed this past weekend against Alabama because of an injury from the midweek. But I, if he gets a chance to play shortstop this weekend and does impress me, kind of like what Seaver King did last year, where he kind of wowed me for moving in from center field. There's a non-zero chance that he sticks there, but I feel like ultimately gets tried out there. Probably sticks at second base, which isn't a bad thing. If the bat continues to play how it has and continues to do so in the minors, you take that.
Yeah, I love it. For you on the draft, so for everybody, there's a top 200 draft board. You can go to justbaseball.com to get the full top 200. But for you, out of the top 200 board, who's been the biggest riser for you?
That would be Senior Steele Hall, Hewitt Trustfield kid. So what's interesting with Hall is he was actually a 26. And he really kept it under wraps from reclassing because we weren't aware that he reclassed until he signed his letter of intent, back in November. And it was just really caught us off guard because not to say he wasn't highly regarded in that class, because obviously that class looks really, really good on paper right now. But he wasn't amongst the top guys.
Yeah.
And looking at what has happened since then, he's added a ton of mass to his body. So I think he's gone from like 175 to like 190. The swing looks a lot better. There's more power. There's a reason why he's jumped from, I think he was something like 40 something on the prep top 80 to now he's a legitimate top 25 prospect in the entire draft.
That's insane.
So looking at that, like the bat speed's there, everything's there for him to work. And again, he's like Billy Carlson with the prowess at shortstop. Like he's one of the more polished gloves in the whole class. So having that bat finally uptick to what his potential is big for his game. And I feel like, not to say it was a well-kept secret, but now that he's done this, he's finally realized his potential, which is great for him because now he's on the short list to be a first rounder. So, he's one of the guys that like I'm really excited to see how he does the rest of the spring. I think they've already started in Alabama because they're one of the southern states, so they get an earlier start than the rest of the country. But from the videos I've seen and the film so far, like the bat looks pretty legit from the right side. And, I'm excited to see what happens here in the next couple of months and see where he kind of shapes out in this class.
Yeah, I love that. Guy for me that I picked as the biggest riser, and it's because we had him on the podcast last week, is Korbyn Dickerson, outfielder out of Indiana. I was sold on him, like just from the data and from your live looks. But then when I interviewed the kid, like, man, the head on his shoulders is just like to the moon. Baseball IQ super high. He's got like his mindset and his physicality all kind of locked in lockstep with each other. It's just kind of incredible to see. Like every question that I asked him, like his response was like fully thought out. Like he has thought about how he's developing his game. He has thought about how he's training his mindset to get him prepared for every single at bat. Just like a down to earth dude, and what he's done on the field this year just can't be overlooked. Like he's hit a ball at 117 exit velo. He's putting up good average exit velos this year. He's not swinging and missing as much as he was the year before, and the struggles that he went through in Louisville. And he talked about that on the podcast about like how was it awakening for him when he got to Louisville after being like a top prep guy and just getting redshirted, and then having a not so great season after that. He's like kind of cognizant of all the issues that were wrong with his game, and he's like, now I've decided I'm going to develop myself into the player I want to be. Talks about how he's like finding pitches within the zone and like finding his pitch to drive it. Like just everything about that kid. And I mean, I haven't even touched on his defense. Like it's premium defense in the outfield. He's able to chase everything down. He's got good speed. Like it's just a lot of fun. And as a Royals fan, like if he fell to the comp pick, the Bobby Witt Jr. Rookie of the Year pick, I would be pretty happy with that. But he is skyrocketing. So
absolutely. And like we all thought that like seeing how hot he started the season, like does keep it up. He has. Yeah. He has. And we also don't talk about how I slept through that entire interview, by the way. I was supposed to be there.
No one needed to know. See, now you just threw yourself under the bus.
See, I can throw myself under the bus because it was my mistake.
Yeah.
I remember texting you because I had an alarm set for 9 a.m.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up at the time the podcast was starting with you with my phone in my hand and acting like, how did this phone get in my hand? Because I did not remember picking it up when I woke up at 9 o'clock. That's how tired I was.
Korbyn was obviously super angry that you weren't there. So
I'm sorry, Korbyn. I'm sorry. But on the bright side, I've got 2 home runs of you at the USA complex. So like, does that even it out a little bit?
That Oppo one, that was insane.
Dude, it's insane how easy the power is too. Like
it was like 110 Oppo too, wasn't it? Or 107? Something crazy.
It was both. It was 107 and 110.
Dumb. That's got to watch. Interview is on our YouTube, so be sure to check that out. Want to dive into the biggest fallers. So the not so fun topic of the guys who've just kind of dropped on the draft board. Who's the guy that you kind of want to touch on here as like one of the biggest fallers?
So obviously we talked about LaViolette earlier, and he's looked better of late. And I think the same can even be said for like Henry Ford. He's starting to slug the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with those two has been not defensive liabilities, but definitely like they have one swing. And for me, with like looking at LaViolette, the swing has been stiff. He struggled with sliders. The K rate is down from what it has been the past 2 years. I think his freshman year he K'd at like 27%. His sophomore year was like 24%, and this year's 21%. Which, yes, it's an improvement from what it was.
Yeah.
But if you want him to be the 1-1 overall pick, that's not what you want from a guy that's going to be that high. So, having him drop from 1 to 16 in this, like, he still has the tools to be a legitimate player. But now you kind of wonder, is he a 3 true outcomes player? Could he be Joey Gallo? Which, again, Joey Gallo had a pretty good peak for like 1 or 2 years, but obviously longevity is not there. Joey Gallo is now going to try and pitch, which, funny enough, he touched like 95 in high school. For those that don't know,
I remember that.
Yeah, and like with Henry Ford too, like the swing. I've talked with this like Joe Doyle and some of the other guys. Like, it's stiff. He's got that leg plant timing, and I think that's what's kind of causing everything, because everything kind of has to work so perfect for him to get bat to ball. And he was obviously still hitting during the time where he wasn't slugging for power. But obviously he chases a lot, he swings a lot, and if the swing's out of sync, like it was, it was really tough for him to get consistent power on the ball. And I think now he's kind of found that a little bit. He's fallen from like, it was like 20, I think I had him around 20, and now he's at 35. So it's not a big drop compared to what LaViolette had. But, for a guy that was a first baseman last year, kind of still jumping between first base and outfield this year, kind of want to shed that first base label. If you don't shed it, that bat's going to have a lot of pressure on it. And I guess if there's one more guy to talk about too, like Cannarella's kind of falling a little bit.
That was going to be my
pick. Yeah, like I'll kind of let you go more in depth on that. But for me, like I don't know, the hit tool's just not the same, and there's not much of power output. So like it feels like the defense has finally usurped what the offense is.
Yeah. And it's like he's not chasing a ton. I was diving into that the other day. I was trying to figure out kind of what some of the issues are. Like he's not chasing a ton. He's whiffing kind of at a normal rate, but it's just not getting barrel the ball. Like the contact isn't hard. Like he's has not a great max exit velo. He's put up decent exit velos overall, but it's just he's not driving the ball. He's not finding barrel the ball, and I think that's kind of the biggest concerns. And you kind of wonder, like the injury was the issue last year, right? And that's where kind of the downfall went with the bat, and the power was suppressed. So you're wondering if like did he come back too fast from it? Has they kind of rushed through him? I mean, we don't know the answers to that, but I think like if this is a guy that falls to the end of the draft, end of the first round, you got to be pretty excited if you're a team down there and can like kind of take a chance on Cannarella and see if he can turn things around. Like if I'm a team in like the 20 to 30 range, like I'm pretty happy if Cannarella falls in my lap just because of the struggles. Again, like yes, you have some concern with, like you said, the hit tool kind of not being there, but the upside there with the athleticism, the ability to stick in center field long term, like I'm kind of in if I'm in like the 20 to 30 range. I don't know how you feel.
That's where I've kind of got him pegged right now,
Yeah.
and I think him and Devin Taylor are kind of like in that same mold where Devin Taylor's been consistent, nothing kind of flashy, but he's a consistent force. Cannarella is kind of just fallen underneath that, and I feel like next update, if this continues, like Cannarella is going to kind of fall out of the first round for me. And to the same point, Nicholas Dumsnil, I think is his name, out of Cal Baptist. Still kind of whiffing and chasing at the same rate he was last year. Nothing has really changed there. And I understand, like, he did very good on the Cape. There's no discounting what he did there. But with the Cape, his chase rate was above like 40%, and his whiff rate was still around 30%. So, there was stuff to work on with the hit tool, and it just hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah.
Hence why he's kind of fallen out of the first round for me. But like, power speed guy, still has tools. Again, this is another scenario where if it doesn't change over the next month or so, by the time the next update, it's going to be another faller for me. But, still got time to see how that stuff changes. Like, I don't want to discount these guys yet because we're still pretty early into the season. Like, conference play just started a week or two ago for most conferences. So there's time to adjust. There's time to adapt for that. And I want to see if these guys specifically, not Devin Taylor per se, because I think he's done enough at this point to kind of stick in that back into the first round. But like, what can Cannarella do? What can Dumsnil do? What can Henry Ford do to kind of recharge the stock a little bit, and find their way back into the first round? Because like you look at guys like Ethan Petrie, who, before the season I mentioned the hit tool kind of just wasn't there last year. Now it's kind of there. He's done better. The K rate has dropped from 26% to like 13% now, or something wild like that. And Petrie's kind of slowly pushing his way up into that first round range now, I think. So we'll see what happens. Like there's still a lot of time to kind of adjust and adapt. Not only from a player standpoint, from a scouting standpoint too. Like what can you see differently as a scout for these guys going into the meat of the season, basically?
Yeah, I love that. Before we get into the college name and high school name to watch, I think we should probably touch on this because it looks like it just broke a few hours ago, but it sounds like Brendan Summerhill is going to be missing 3 to 4 weeks. What does that kind of do for his draft stock in terms of having a hand injury and trying to come back from that?
I guess it depends on longevity. Like, Summerhill definitely has the most polished hit tool, in my opinion, of the college bats at the top. Power's still waiting for it to uptick a little bit, but he's also super projectable. And I kind of wonder, depending on the hand injury, I don't know if they say specifically what it is. Like if it's a handmade, that's an issue. But if it's something like kind of something similar, like say, I'm going to use my own example, like broken knuckle, broken finger or something. I don't think there's much to worry about. But if it's handmade might be an issue moving forward. But we'll see. Again, kind of just waiting to see how long he is out. If it's just 3 to 4 weeks, okay, cool. But if it starts to affect his stock after that, then there's obviously an issue there. But he's already shown to us what he's capable of, and I think it's a guy that's going to be a hit over power with some defensive prowess and either probably right field. But he's got some time at center field, so maybe he starts there at the pro level. But again, it's kind of a wait and see game on that one.
Yeah, we'll definitely be watching, kind of keeping updated on that. For you, outside of the top 100, who is a college name to watch for you?
Ooh, outside the top 100, I like this.
Yeah, I figured we go deep here, giving people a view of the entire board.
Ooh, so trying to think. I'm debating between two guys.
Just got in there because that could have been your choice. He just got in the top 100.
Oh, there's a reason why I put him there.
Yeah.
Kane Kipley's amazing, by the way. He went yard for the first time the other day. So if anybody that hasn't watched UNC games, his walk-up song's the Lion King intro, where they lift Simba in the air. And there's actually a Kane Kipley Lion King plushie that his family has, which I think is adorable. Like,
that's
amazing.
Awesome to
see. But like, he went yard. I sent the SID at UNC an image cropped of Kane Kipley's like headshot on his profile on top of the I can't remember the monkey's name in Lion King that's like holding him up.
That's incredible.
So yeah, the SID at UNC now has that image, and I have told him that like you are fully free to use that whenever he goes yard again. Like I think that's a great thing to kind of tie in with everything. So yeah. Just saying, not a Monty idea. It's a Tyler Jennings original.
Sorry, Monty.
Love you, Monty. Really do. But if there's really any kind of like underrated college guy, Griffin Hugus at Miami.
I like that.
You know, I do like me some Hugus, and like he comes from Cincinnati after 2 years there. He's a South Florida kid. He grew up in Wellington, Florida, which is the Miami suburb. Goes back to Miami, and there's some intriguing stuff there. Like fastball has been averaging like 93 this year. He's been up to 96, 97, and it's missing bats. Like there's some flatness to the top of the zone. He has some crossfire to his delivery, and there's some wide angle to it. So he's getting some deception on it as well, and he's able to locate it up and miss bats with it. And then the cutter, he went from like a low 80 sweeper to now it's like a cut slider at 86, which has been dynamic for him.
Yeah.
And he's got feel for a changeup. So like he's been primarily those two pitches, the fastball slider so far. But he's throwing strikes, missing bats. He's getting a lot of chases. I think the slider has like a 45% chase rate so far this year, last time I checked.
It's pretty
and
good.
He's been performing well in the ACC so far. So like, if you're looking for a guy that could sneak his way into like top 100 conversation, Griffin Hugus is the guy for you.
I love that pick. The guy I was going to go with, just because I had so much fun watching him at the Shriners Children's College Showdown, was Mason White. Yeah, there's a lot of hit tool issues there, but man, the power is absolutely insane. Like, and the fact that he can generate that power given his stature is just wild to me. He is like, I think he's like in the 100th percentile and barrel percentage, which is kind of nuts to think about. He's got a max exit velo 111.7 this year. He's averaging close to 90 on the exit velo. It's just fun power to watch from him. Again, I watched him in the Shriners, and like, yeah, you give him a soft tossing lefty who's throwing just breakers and things like that in the dirt. He's swinging and missing. But I just think it's fun power to watch. He's very pull side heavy. Like, he's not the guy that's going to drive the ball the other way at all. It's just pull side juice basically, but I like him. He's fun. And he kind of plays with some flair, which is always intriguing. But yeah, definitely hit tool concerns there, like ton of whiff, ton of chase, but still just a fun little profile.
Yeah. And I feel like with Mason White, if he had a hit tool, he'd be like a top 30, 40 pick.
Oh yeah.
I really do think he could be. But never having that hit tool kind of really hampers the stuff there. And he's kind of a second baseman. But like the power is legit for a guy. He's like what, 5'11", 180. Like,
and who knows how if the height is actually accurate on the website.
Like a kid with that stature having that kind of pop is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's wild. I I think I might know who you were going to go here, but maybe you're going to throw me off just because you wrote an article on him. But who's the prep guy to watch outside the top 100?
Okay, so I will say it's not CJ.
That was going to be CJ Gray.
Yeah, like I will say CJ Gray, awesome stuff. I wrote that article on him, which is on Just Baseball if you want to read it, which includes like a Metallica intro because I got bored on the drive home, and I was like, the what was it? The intro to Fuel by Metallica was playing in my head. So it has the intro. It's like, give me fuel, give me fire, give me what I desire. And then obviously the James Hetfield downpicking because he's just a freak of nature with his right hand. I don't know why. That's the first thing that came to my mind. And CJ Gray's been up to 97 already this spring. So like kind of plays in hand, you know. But there is one kid I'm going to talk about, and it's a bit of an interesting profile for me. Like Yale commit from the state of New York, Michael Oliveto from I'm not even trying to pronounce that name. Smithtown, New York is where he's from. I'm not going to pronounce his high school because I know I'm going to mess it up. But he's a very interesting kid, and it's kind of a catcher outfield kind of kid. But the bat's legit, and I think that's what you're going to be buying with this kid. Tons of bat speed, tons of leverage. He really turned on a ton of pitches down at WWBA Worlds. Had a fantastic showing down there, really showed out for the scouts, and he's been continuing that like in showcases so far because that's really all they've had because they're a late start.
Yeah,
you know, 6'3", 185, super projectable. There's a ton of power potential there. The hit tool is not too shabby. There is some swing and miss, and he can expand the zone, but he does a good job of kind of containing himself and not being too wild. Really, question is about where he sticks at the next level. I don't think he has the arm for the backstop position, but he might be a serviceable left fielder if he continues to mash. But this is a kid that, you know, I have him at 196 on the list. And to be honest, like that's probably underselling what he is. Like if he comes out and mashes this spring when they start in about a month or so, you're looking at a guy that could be somewhere in that second to third round range. Personally, so
that's pretty good.
You know, we'll see what happens when we get to like the top 300 when everybody in the country is set for like Iowa is kind of going, because Iowa obviously has the super late start. But you know, I'm really excited for what this kid could be, and he's also going to be 18 in 5 months on draft day, so he's got some youth on his side, and I think the commitment to Yale is pretty viable. Like you can spend some money on him and splurge a little bit and have a good little mold of clay to work with, and get him away from that Yale commitment. And you know, if he does end up going to Yale, cool. He might be one of the best bats in 2028. So we'll see what happens. But
also, shout out Yale for getting a kid like that.
Dude, like, hey, smart kids know what they're doing. Smart kids can play some ball.
Yep.
Trying to think. There's an MIT kid that's been up to 98 so far. And he's also like an aerospace engineering major. Like, excuse me?
I love that. I love stories like that, man. Like things you don't expect. I love it.
I wonder what he calls like a sweeper. What is there an abbreviation for that?
I don't know.
That you could kind of put into aerospace engineering?
A little data code or something.
I feel like I'm making fun of him. Honestly, this is super cool to kind of talk about because you don't have kids from like MIT be this good. Like really, like he's not on this update obviously, but like to talk about him, I think Brian Recca, who if you're not following him, like you're doing yourself a disservice for Northeastern guys because like I'll be honest, I'm a cold weather prospect kind of guy because seeing these guys up north kind of gets late start, but then they kind of blossom. You know, it's kind of fun to watch, and Recca does a fantastic job covering the area. You know, obviously we worked with him for a couple years. He's kind of doing his own thing now, which I'm happy for him, man. He's doing a fantastic job covering what he can. But he went out and saw him and said he was still hitting like 92, 93 and like the 4 for 5th, and he's getting like 7 feet of extension. I'm like, are we sure this kid hasn't built like a robotic exoskeleton or something to like help him get down the mound more and hit 98? Like this is pretty wild to kind of like talk about. And granted, I think this is a kid that could surprise people on draft day if he chooses baseball.
It's crazy too, because I was looking at Rekka's. He's got his velo leaders for the Northeast college guys. Mason Estrada's number 1 at 97 out of MIT.
That's ridiculous, man. That really
That's
is.
competing with like Rutgers, Maine, UConn, all these other like schools that have produced good baseball.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's MIT at the top, 97. It's wild.
All right, kids, you can play baseball, you can get degrees, and you can also be paid handsomely. Choose baseball over football, please.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it. That kind of wraps us up for the draft board update. We wanted to keep it short, wanted to make sure that we were going into the depth on the board for you to give you a little bit of preview. The incredible top 200 is on the Just Baseball website. Tyler worked effortlessly on this, putting it together. You got write-ups and scouting reports in there. You're going to have live video from a good portion of the draft prospects that are always that will be linked to the board as well. We have some draft prospect interviews that we've been conducting since the offseason that are going to be linked in there also. So we're going to try to have the draft board be as interactive as possible. But Tyler, any final thoughts before we kind of wrap things up?
Not really. Obviously, I've kind of already said where I'm going to be for the next couple of weeks. So, got a lot of exciting stuff going on. Tennessee this weekend, going against a pretty scrappy South Carolina squad that almost beat Oklahoma, in Columbia a couple weeks ago. But, this Tennessee squad is going to be in for a big test this week, I think. This is not the South Carolina team of years past where, not to say they're nonchalant, but they weren't as focused, I would probably say is the best way to put it. This Gamecock squad under Maneri is really, really focused, and they're very scrappy. So I'm excited to see, Liam Doyle, Marcus Phillips. Maybe we get AJ Russell back in the fold after missing about the last month or so while he's trying to ramp up. We'll see what happens. But, excited to see Doyle. Excited to see Curley, all the bats in that lineup again. And getting another look at Petrie. Petrie, like I said, performing better this year already. K rate's down. I want to see if that continues against some really, really good arms this weekend. And then obviously after that, NC State, Virginia, NHSI, then get to go down to Arkansas and Georgia. Then get some Wake Forest and Boston College. So it's going to be interesting over the next month or so as we kind of get into the meat of the season. And it's really valuable stuff what we've got coming up. And obviously you mentioned it, going to try and get all video and reports out onto the top 200 guys as well. So that will be updated over the next couple of weeks. Just now starting to get some of the guys from last summer too. So we'll start getting a lot of USA video coming up soon, which I'm excited for because there's a lot of stuff that really intrigued me last summer. And then kind of moving into what we've seen already this spring. But outside of that, exciting stuff we've got coming up. Obviously, top 25's out.
Yep.
At some point in the future, we're gonna have to put NC State in there if they keep it up. By the way,
they're rolling.
They've looked really good the past few weeks. Yeah. Don Fritton, he's been really, really good.
He almost won pitcher of the week this week. I mean,
yeah, let's say, and Micah Bucknam. I will say, I that was really fun to kind of look at that line on Friday.
Yeah, that was a good time. Other stuff we have coming up, Will Mosa has really recently had the best under the radar college baseball pitchers to know. Good article. You should go check that out. Jamie Cameron on our team is doing a 2025 MLB Draft Stock Watch. He's trying to do it weekly, kind of guys up and down, biggest risers. I had my first MLB Draft Scouting notebook go out, went to Maryland, Penn State, UCLA, saw those teams. So got some scouting reports in there. Should check that out as well. And we got more prospect interviews coming. We had Korbyn Dickerson drop last week, as we talked about. We have Colton Smith from Georgia dropping this week. And then we'll have, I think, Aaron Watson and Michael Salina, a couple others that'll drop here soon as well. So we're going to keep trying to get guys on. A little bit tougher during the season as guys are kind of going through their season. But as seasons wrap up, as we get closer to the draft, we're really going to be trying to get some of the draft guys on for you to get to know who they are, get to learn a little bit more about them. But until next time, We will see ya.